Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The dawn sky over Lagos bled into pale gold as Uche crouched beneath the looming concrete pillars of the third mainland bridge. At 17 he had carved a shelter from discarded corrugated metal and frayed tarpaulin. His home a patchwork of cardboard boxes and old fishing nets. Each morning he rose at the first call to prayer, wiping dew from a threadbare blanket and murmuring a silent petition for a better day. By sunrise he scavenged refuse heaps for spare parts, discarded spark plugs, lengths of frayed wire and broken gears from generators, fuel for his impromptu roadside workshop. Today, as the city roared awake, Uche's hands were busy polishing a battered wrench when an unlikely sound cut through the traffic's roar. A Mercedes-Benz coughing and wheezing at the curb. He paused, curiosity sharpening in his keen brown eyes. From the driver's seat emerged a silhouette dressed in crisp fabric. Adaobi, heiress and rising star of Lagos's most fashionable circles. Her tailored blazer smeared with city grime, heels splashing in a puddle left by last night's downpour. She stared at the open hood, panic flickering across her high cheekboned face. Uche straightened, tension coiling in his chest, but he couldn't look away as she fumbled with the latch and the engine groaned in protest. Drawing a steadying breath, he stepped from the shadows. "Need a hand?" he called, voice low but confident. She looked up, surprise sharpening her expression. "Who are you?" she demanded, scanning his threadbare cap and oil-stained hands. "Just someone who knows engines," he replied, nodding toward his tool-laden station under the bridge. Her eyebrow rose. "Why help me?" she asked, arms crossing. Uche tapped the wrench gently against his palm. "Because no passenger deserves to be stranded where I grew up," he said, voice gentle. "And because sometimes fixing a machine reminds you that nothing's really broken beyond repair." He knelt, fingers working steel and oil until the engine sputter smoothed into a steady purr. Adaobi's relief bloomed instantly. "How much?" she asked, voice wary. "Money?" Uche shook his head. "Just starch for my stomach," he said. "A meal." Her lips parted in surprise. "A meal?" she echoed. He nodded, reaching into his makeshift toolbox and pulling out a scuffed index card. On it he'd scrawled his only phone number. "Call me if you ever need help," he said, pressing it into her manicured hand. She looked down at the grease-stained card, then back at him. "I'll remember this," she promised softly. Moments later she slipped behind the wheel, hesitated and said, "I insist on paying you back." He raised an eyebrow. "Uche," he offered. "My price is one dinner." Her laughter rang bright and musical, echoing under the bridge's concrete ribs. She nodded once and drove away, leaving Uche alone in the morning chorus of horn blasts and street vendors hawking Accra. The engine's hum faded, but his heart still drummed with something new, hope. He tucked the grease cloth into his pocket, slipped the wrench into its place and turned to the river's gentle murmur. Today felt different, he thought. And one dinner might change everything. Adaobi's sleek sedan rolled through Ikoyi's tree-lined avenues, the morning sun glinting off its polished hood. In the passenger seat, she turned the scuffed index card over and over, astonished that a streetwise boy named Uche could summon such skill, let alone humility. Less than an hour later she parked outside a vibrant roadside joint famous for jollof rice and iced hibiscus tea and tapped the number, her fingers trembling. Uche answered on the second ring, voice cautious. "You're early," he said. "I promised dinner," she reminded, stepping out of the car in tailored trousers that brushed the asphalt. He emerged from a cluster of plastic tables, wiping hands on an oil-stained rag. Behind him, hawkers shouted morning specials. "You could have paid me 100,000 naira and skipped the beans," he joked, eyes warm. She laughed, the sound like wind chimes in a breeze. "I'd rather invest in people," she replied, flipping open her cashmere scarf. They sat across from each other amid tumbling voices and the aroma of tomatoes, fish, and smoke. Their first spoonful of fluffy rice was silence and study. Adaobi broke it. "My world can feel rigid. I run a family business that measures success in digits and deals. You look at an engine and see a story." Uche shrugged, catching her gaze. "Engines don't lie," he said. "They either work or they don't." He told her about nights spent under the bridge, nights haunted by mosquitoes and dreams. She spoke of boardrooms that buzzed with ambition but echoed with loneliness. They discovered startling parallels. She had lost her father to debt disputes. He had lost his mother to illness when her last naira bought medicine too late. As plates emptied, the sky above deepened to cobalt. Adaobi leaned forward. "There's a family gala tonight, formal business acquaintances everywhere. I want you there, she said, voice earnest. I want the world to see you. Uche's throat tightened. In this? He gestured at his patched denim. She shook her head. In what I can lend you, she said firmly, eyes bright with sincerity. A horn blew and Adaobi stood, offering her hand. We're not done discovering life, she declared. He took it, surprise and gratitude mingling on his face. Their hands shook. Across the jollof-stained table, two worlds collided gently but irrevocably, and neither would ever be the same. That evening, Uche arrived at Adaobi's family mansion in patched clothes and borrowed loafers, clutching the keycard she'd given him. In the grand foyer, chandeliers sparkled like constellations, and an orchestra's strains drifted from the ballroom. Guests paused, murmuring at the sight of the young mechanic standing confident amid silks and sequins. Adaobi greeted him with a warm smile and guided him to a corner table. A cousin sneered from across the room, "Who's your friend?" "The help." Uche's jaw tensed, but Adaobi squeezed his hand. "Don't mind him," she whispered. "He's fond of underestimating people." Soon a waiter delivered champagne flutes. Adaobi raised her glass, center stage. "To new alliances," she toasted. The crowd murmured polite applause. Uche, heart pounding, sipped gingerly. The bubbly tang slid warmth down his throat. Later she led him to a private terrace lit by lanterns and candles. "I brought you here because I trust your insight," she said, eyes bright in the night. "My company's launching a community uplift pilot, solar water purifiers in underserved neighborhoods. I want your opinion." Uche inhaled the humid air, tasting opportunity. "Might need stronger filters," he began, pointing to his old tarpaulin shelter under the bridge. "People carry water in jerrycans, but if the purifier's too bulky, no one will use it." Adaobi leaned toward him, absorbing every syllable. As midnight approached, they spoke of blueprints and budgets, dreams and doubts. Uche realized that in her world of marble floors and tailored suits, Adaobi longed for authenticity as much as he longed for stability. And while the gala's glitter faded, their connection glowed stronger than any chandelier. The next morning, Uche climbed the dusty steps of Adaobi's innovation lab, heart racing. His borrowed jacket felt stiff, his borrowed shoes pinched, but he held his head high. Inside, sleek prototypes gleamed under fluorescent lights, and engineers in crisp lab coats exchanged ideas. A senior executive paused mid-stride, scanning Uche's work-worn shirt. "And you are?" she asked, skepticism in her tone. Adaobi stepped forward. "This is Uche," she announced. "He's advising us on community feedback. He knows these streets better than any consultant." The executive's eyes narrowed, but then Adaobi produced the lab keycard. "It's in his name." Uche swiped it, the door clicked open. He entered, shoulders settling as possibility thrummed in the air. Inside, a half-assembled solar purifier waited on a workbench. Adaobi set down her tablet. "Your turn," she said. Uche knelt, inspecting hoses and filters. He pointed out where villagers might struggle to replace cartridges, where weight could deter use, and how a simple hand pump might improve flow. As they sketched modifications, late-night sessions became the norm. Adaobi admired Uche's instincts, how he measured distances by stride, gauged angles by memory of van ramps, and chose materials by imagining walking miles for repairs. Outside, Lagos murmured with change. And inside the lab, Uche and Adaobi realized that bridging their worlds might bring solutions neither could achieve alone. At dusk, Uche returned to his makeshift home under the bridge, his mind buzzing with lab designs. Yet each night, the lingering scent of metal and oil reminded him of fragility. He emptied his pockets, phones that buzzed with messages from Adaobi, scraps of notes on filter sizes, and the grease cloth he used to greet each dawn. Tonight, though, fear twisted his heartbeat. Smoke. He rushed back to find flames licking the cardboard walls, his sanctuary reduced to embers. His friends from the street, two younger boys he'd taught to strip wires, scrambled to help, their shouts echoing against concrete. When the fire died, Uche stood amid charred tarpaulin and bent rods, guilt and helplessness coiling in his chest. Then footsteps approached. Adaobi appeared, arms laden with blankets and bottled water. Her eyes softened as she knelt beside him. "I heard," she said simply. "Let's build anew." Her phone glowed, blueprints for a community center shelter, prepared by her lab team. "This is for you and everyone here." Uche stared at the blueprint. Walls of reclaimed steel, solar panels overhead, workshop benches for every young mechanic. Tears blurred his vision. "Why?" he whispered. "Because you changed my world," Adaobi replied. "Now let me change yours." Under the bridge's cold shadow, they stood together, embers at their feet and possibility in their hearts. Proof that when two worlds collide, something stronger can rise from the ashes. Under the glow of fluorescent lab lights in Adaobi's innovation lab, Uche felt more at home than he ever had under the bridge. He arrived early, nodding at engineers sipping coffee and reviewing schematics. His borrowed safety jacket felt stiff on his shoulders but served as a symbol. He belonged here now. Adaobi joined him, carrying a laptop and a thermos. She smiled, offering him the thermos. "Fuel for our late night," she said. Uche took a sip of bitter coffee and set to work. The solar water purifier prototype stood on a sleek metal table, panels angled under adjustable clamps. He examined the filter housing, then turned to Adaobi. "The peristaltic pump needs a manual override valve," he said, tapping her tablet. "If pressure builds too high, it could crack the fittings. On the street we improvise with valves from old motorcycles." Adaobi typed rapidly. "Got it. I'll source a durable valve design." Night deepened. The lab cleared except for them. They measured lengths of tubing, tested flow rates, and adjusted hinges. Their laughter echoed as Adaobi recounted a boardroom meeting where she defended his suggestion to install a simpler gauge. He teased that she had a talent for intimidating suits in tailored power poses. After hours they stepped outside. Lagos buzzed in waves of heat. Motorbikes zoomed by, distant horns and street vendors mingled in a symphony. Adaobi closed her eyes and inhaled. "Thank you for bringing life to numbers and slides," she said softly. Uche shrugged. "You brought me to a world where ideas can change lives." Their bond deepened in those late nights. He taught her street wisdom, how to gauge a person's mood by their stride, how to repurpose discarded metal. She showed him digital design tools, how to model stress tolerances with simulations. Together they built more than a machine, they built trust. Weeks passed. The purifier prototype worked flawlessly in tests. News of the partnership trickled through the company, and Lagos began murmuring that this unlikely duo might truly revolutionize water access. Uche returned to the bridge one evening, his crew greeting him with cheers around a rough-hewn table. He presented them with smaller purifier models he had adapted. Their smiles lit the dusk. When he finally headed back to the lab, Adaobi intercepted him at the gate. She held 2 mugs of hot tea. "Bridges I build now connect cities, people, and dreams," she said. Uche raised his mug. "To building bridges," he replied. They clinked mugs under the fading dusk, ready at last to see where their collaboration would carry them next. Around them, the city's lights shimmered like distant bright promises. As they walked toward the lab doors, Uche's phone buzzed. A headline from a local outlet read, "Bridge mechanic and heiress turn water tech upside down." His smile widened. Adaobi squeezed his hand. "We're making ripples," she said, voice proud. Uche glanced at her. "This feels bigger than us." She nodded, determination in her gaze. Earlier that morning, Adaobi and Uche reviewed their pitch over coffee in a small meeting room. Adaobi spread printed slides across the table. Uche traced his finger over graphs showing water access gaps. "Remember," she said, "board members value clarity. Speak plainly." He nodded, heart racing. The boardroom was an arena of power and influence and innovation. Uche's palms were slick as he settled beside Adaobi at the head of the obsidian table. The executives watched as she connected her tablet to a massive screen. The prototype solar purifier's blue schematic pulses filled the room. A senior director clicked through her slides, voice steady. "Market analysis shows a 20% uptake in urban districts." She paused. "But rural adoption lags behind expectations." Adaobi nodded, then introduced Uche. "Our field specialist has insights that could shift this balance," she said, tone firm. A ripple of curiosity passed around the table. The rival executive across from them crossed arms and arched an eyebrow. "I hope anecdotal observations can match our data," he sneered. Adaobi met his gaze. "Data is only as good as the context. Uche's experience on the streets uncovers variables our surveys miss." Uche swallowed and cleared his throat. "In my neighborhood," he began, voice steady, "most people fetch water mid-morning when sunlight peaks. But they carry jerrycans uphill, losing energy. If the purifier is too heavy at first fill, they abandon it. Instead, we need a detachable base so they can refill closer to ground level and carry water home empty." He tapped the schematic, zooming into the filter base. "This reduces strain by 80%. Murmurs of approval echoed. Executives leaned in, scribbling notes. The rival executive's lip curled. "And what of maintenance? We can't have valves failing in remote villages." Adaobi flipped the slide. Here's our solution. Modular valve kits pre-assembled for 99% compatibility, sourced locally. The graph shifted, showing projected reliability. Silence reigned. Then applause broke like thunder. Board members praised the innovation, commending both field insight and corporate support. Uche exhaled, disbelief and pride mixed in his chest. Later, in Adaobi's glass-walled office, she poured 2 glasses of water. Uche wiped sweat from his brow. "You were brilliant," she said. He shook his head. "You were brilliant." She smiled. "We made a good team." Their hands met over the cool glass. But not everyone celebrated. The rival executive watched through the frosted wall, his gaze cold. "He's a threat to our status," he muttered into his phone. "Find a reason to discredit him." That night, Adaobi walked Uche to the elevator when a notification buzzed on her phone. A popular industry blog had published an article titled, "Mechanic Street Smarts Steal the Show in Boardroom Drama." Adaobi tapped the link. "They're talking about you." Uche grinned, disbelief in his eyes. She stepped closer. "This is just the beginning." Their eyes held promise amid the quiet hum of office machinery, cementing a partnership forged under pressure and destined to change lives. Dynamically. The 10-hour day began with promise. Uche arrived at the lab to oversee final stress tests on the purifier. Adaobi met him by the workbench, bright and efficient. She handed him safety goggles. "Morning," she said, eyes alight with ideas. He managed a tired smile. By midday they were field testing the prototype in a dusty village outside Lagos. Children gathered curiously, fascinated by the sleek panels and plastic hoses. Uche guided the chief's daughter through the pump handle rotation, while Adaobi recorded flow rates on a tablet. Their partnership flowed as smoothly as water through the filter. But by late afternoon the sun bowed low and Uche's energy flagged. He rubbed his eyes and winced as his muscles trembled. Back at the lab, Adaobi insisted on brainstorming the next phase. "We need multimedia outreach, videos, social media campaigns," she said, clicking through her presentation. Uche's mind fogged. "Not now," he muttered, irritation sharpening his tone. Adaobi paused mid-sentence, hurt flashing in her eyes. "We can't stop improving," she replied. He slammed his palm on the table. The sound cracked the tense air. "I can't do it all," he burst out. "Bridge life, lab work, night classes, community reinvestment. How do you expect me to keep up?" Adaobi's gaze faltered. "I thought you wanted this," she said softly. "I want to help," he snapped. "But I'm only one person." Adaobi closed her laptop, shoulders stiffening. "Then say so," she whispered. Her words cut deeper than any criticism. She pushed away from the table and left the lab, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. Uche stared at the half-assembled purifier, guilt and frustration colliding. His hand shook as he reached for her discarded safety jacket. The hum of machinery felt cold without her presence. He realized his outburst sprang from fear that his past failures would define him, that he didn't deserve her trust. Outside, the streetlights flickered on. Uche raced to the parking lot, heart pounding. He found her leaning against a pillar, arms wrapped around herself as though sheltering bruised confidence. "Adaobi," he began, voice raw. She looked away. "Why did you push so hard?" he asked, swallowing. "I wanted you to see what I see," he admitted. "Not just a boy from the bridge, but someone capable of changing the world." His voice cracked. She turned, eyes glistening. "I believed in you," she said. "I still do." He stepped closer. "I drove you away instead." She inhaled and met his gaze. "We're partners," she said, holding his gaze amid the dim parking lot. "Partnership means listening and trusting." A taxi's horn blared in the distance. Uche closed the gap, placing his hand over hers. "I'm sorry," he said, "for doubting myself and you." Adaobi's lips curved. "I'm sorry too," she replied. "Let's find balance together." Under the streetlights, they stood shoulder to shoulder, determined to move forward, stronger and united after the storm. Later he returned to the bridge with renewed resolve, vowing to honor their dream. Dawn broke over the third mainland bridge as Uche stepped onto the familiar stretch of cracked pavement. His footsteps echoed through the makeshift community of cardboard homes and corrugated roofs. Early risers stirred, children stretching, vendors hawking akara, and older men playing chess on improvised tables. Uche inhaled the smoky scent of charcoal fires and remembered why he fought. He gathered his friends, past and present, beneath the bridge's shadow. There was Emeka, adept at carpentry, Bola, a former university student turned activist, and young Chima, who Uche had tutored in wiring circuits. Uche laid out blueprints on a dust-coated table. Designs for a community center with solar panels, water purifiers and workstations for skills training. "This will replace the shelter we lost," he announced, voice firm. Emeka nodded, raising a hand. "We can salvage metal beams from that abandoned warehouse." Bola circled the plans. "I'll rally volunteers. We need tools and bolts." Chima clapped his hands. "I'll set up the wiring." Energy crackled among them, a spark rekindled. Later, Uche strode into Adaobi's office, escorted past glass walls displaying accolades. She looked up from her desk, her face bright. "Progress?" she asked, eyes alight. He unrolled the map of the bridge community and pointed to standby locations for solar panels and workshop benches. "They're ready to rebuild," he said. "We just need your backing." Adaobi stood and walked around the desk. She tapped her computer, then swiveled to face him. "Consider it done," she replied. "Foundation resources allocated, contractors vetted, and local officials informed. We'll break ground tomorrow." Relief washed over him. "Thank you," he said, voice thick. The next morning, under the bridge's concrete ribs, heavy machinery rumbled. Community volunteers and hired crew worked side by side. Older women cementing foundation blocks, teenagers wielding power drills, and elders supervising. Uche moved among them, carrying beams with Emeka, tying cables with Chima, and laughing with Bola. At midday, Adaobi arrived in a company van, distributing cold water and sunrise smiles. She knelt beside a trembling boy and showed him how to study beams for quality. "Precision is key," she said softly, examining the metal's angle. All afternoon, sunlight spilled between pillar shadows as progress took shape. The new center's frame rose steadily, a symbol of unity. As golden hour approached, they raised the first solar panel. Uche and Adaobi pressed together to guide it into place. Spectators cheered. Rain had threatened that morning, but the sky held clear. At dusk, workers stacked tools and cleaned debris. Uche surveyed the emerging structure. Walls taking form, workstations outlined, and the air humming with hope. Adaobi joined him, handing him a bottle of water. He paused, his gaze lingering on the silhouettes of his community gathered before the center's frame. "We did this together," he said. She slipped her hand into his. "Together," she agreed. Under the bridge where he once sought shelter, Uche realized that home was not just a place, but people united in purpose and spirit. The community's gratitude was boundless. Weeks of planning led Uche and Adaobi to the Lagos International Charity Expo, held in a cavernous hall under stark fluorescent lights. Banners heralded themes of innovation leaps and social impact. Stalls brimmed with prototypes, VR displays and philanthropic pitches. They wheeled in their solar purifier station. Sleek panels mounted on adjustable stands, a transparent chamber for flow demonstration, and a touchscreen interface tracking water quality data in real time. Adaobi whispered, "Focus on our story." Uche gripped the base demonstration station. At 10 a.m., they assumed their positions on the elevated platform. Adaobi at the podium, Uche by the demo table. As the crowd settled, Adaobi smiled and began, "I'm Adaobi Okafor and this is Uche Naji, once a street mechanic whose vision transformed into this technology." Then she described their chance meeting under the bridge and collaboration born of necessity. She clicked to a slide, a map highlighting 20 pilot villages across 3 states. Icons showed water access improving by 60% in trials. Uche stepped forward. "Innovation must be grounded. In my community," he began, "people haul water uphill in heavy jerrycans. Our design's detachable base reduces strain, meaning villagers can carry empty containers home and refill with ease." The audience watched water flow clearly through tubing into a glass beaker. Children's laughter played softly from speakers. Adaobi clicked to the next slide, showing data dashboards highlighting positive health outcomes. A foundation director raised a hand. "Your maintenance model relies on local teams. How will you train and retain technicians?" Adaobi gestured. "Through UNA Foundation partnerships with community leaders. We host quarterly workshops, supply toolkits, and reinvest revenue into maintenance funds." Another skeptic asked about panel durability. Uche detailed UV-resistant coatings and cost-effective refurbishing plans. After 45 minutes, applause erupted. Adaobi directed attendees to their demo booth, staffed by Emeka and Bola, where villagers-turned-ambassadors shared personal transformations, fewer illnesses, thriving gardens, and new businesses. Visitors snapped photos of children drinking safe water. Sponsors scribbled notes eagerly. At 4 p.m. judges reconvened. Adaobi and Uche waited backstage, hearts tethered to the moment. A judge approached. "Congratulations. Your team wins our grant and mentorship package." They exhaled as they stepped forward. Back in the light, a cascade of applause and camera flashes greeted them. Messages of congratulations flooded their inboxes, signaling that their story resonated globally far beyond the expo hall walls. Later, under the warm glow of an after-party lounge, they sat with philanthropists and journalists. A reporter asked Uche, "Where do you go from here?" He clasped Adaobi's hand. "We scale responsibly, expand training, and innovate with humility." Adaobi nodded, adding, "And we always remember the bridge where hope began." Under soft music and applause, they raised glasses of sparkling juice. "To impact," she toasted. "To partnership," he replied. In that moment, they knew their pitch had secured more than funding. It had forged a movement that would carry hope to every corner of their beloved Lagos and beyond. The grand Okafor Estate's drawing room buzzed with polite conversation as Adaobi guided Uche into the walnut-paneled hall. Crystal chandeliers shimmered overhead, casting prisms across marble floors. Uche's heart pounded, the echo of his footsteps in opulence. He adjusted his collar, breath catching as memories of corrugated shelters drifted through his mind. At the center sat Chief Okafor, the family matriarch and board chairwoman, flanked by Adaobi's mother, Elizabeth, and her father, Chief Emeka. Across from them reclined Edward Okafor, Adaobi's estranged uncle, his steel-gray mustache twitching with amusement as he studied Uche's worn jacket and tentative smile. "Darling Adaobi," Edward intoned, voice smooth and sardonic, "we're intrigued by your guest. Who is he exactly? A consultant? A mechanic? The cook?" Adaobi took a steadying breath. "Uncle Edward, this is Uche Naji, my partner at the UNA Foundation." The single word "partner" seemed to reverberate through the room. Uche squared his shoulders, gaze steady despite the trembling in his chest. Edward's lips curled. "Interesting pairing," he sneered. "Tell me, Uche, does the foundation truly need an untrained street kid advising its board? Or is this another one of Adaobi's charitable whims?" A hush fell. Uche met Edward's piercing stare. "Sir, my training began under the Third Mainland Bridge, where necessity taught me to transform scrap into life-saving solutions. My insights have improved water access for hundreds in our pilot communities." Chief Emeka leaned forward. "Is that true?" Uche nodded confidently. "Last quarter, our solar purifiers reduced waterborne illnesses by 50% in 3 villages. I also led the community center's construction under the bridge." Elizabeth's eyes softened. "You've done extraordinary work." Chief Okafor tapped her cane. "Respect is built on impact, not pedigree." Edward's face flushed. He cleared his throat, voice icy. "A high society fundraiser approaches next month. We'll see if your impact draws donors like our family's name does." Adaobi rose gracefully from her seat. "Uche's record speaks for itself. We attract donors by measurable change, not social standing." Murmurs of agreement rippled across the room. Adaobi's cousins, silent, nodded in approval. The matriarch offered a warm smile. "Your words are wise." Edward looked chastened. He inclined his head slightly. "My apologies, Uche. I misjudged you." Outside on the portico, under stars and scented blooms, the night air carried echoes of cicadas. Adaobi slipped her hand into Uche's as a breeze stirred the orange blossoms. Uche exhaled, tension easing. "You handled that brilliantly," she said, eyes alight with pride. He shook his head, voice hushed. "I was angry, but I remembered your faith in me." She pressed her cheek to his. "Our family stands united now." He gazed at the skyline, lights shimmering like promises. Memories of flames consuming his cardboard home flickered through him, now replaced by warmth and possibility. "Together," he agreed, "we'll honor their trust and prove that love and vision can reshape even the oldest foundations." They lingered beneath the estate's facade, confident that these newfound family ties would anchor their shared future. The morning sun cut through the tinted windows of Adaobi's penthouse as Uche scrolled his phone. A tabloid had dropped an exposé, "Street Hustler or Corporate Parasite? The Truth About Uche Naji." The headlines painted him as a publicity stunt by a heiress. Comments brimmed with derision. "Average Joe playing hero, a marketing gimmick." Uche's chest tightened. He closed his eyes, heart pounding. The sleek penthouse felt foreign. Adaobi slid onto the sofa beside him. "Don't let it define you," she said, voice gentle yet firm. He scrolled to a cruel remark. Let's see those shelter builds when the cameras stop rolling. They're twisting everything, he muttered. Then let's show them the truth, Adaobi replied, lifting his chin. They cleared the coffee table to set up a ring light and tripod. Adaobi pressed record on her smartphone. Good morning, everyone. This is Uche Naji and me, Adaobi Okafor. Uche swallowed and began recounting their journey, fixing her Mercedes under the bridge, nights scavenging scrap, dreams of transformation. He described his community center rising from ashes, the solar purifiers powering homes, and the researchers studying water quality improvements. Adaobi chimed in with facts. Our pilot reduced waterborne illness by half across 4 villages. Their voices wavered but grew stronger. Adaobi ended the stream. We have passed. It's our actions that define our future. She posted a blog titled Courage Over Clickbait, woven with photos of Uche welding panels and smiling children with clear water. Within minutes, notifications exploded. Supporters flooded the post with praise. Critics deleted spiteful comments. Trending hashtags #RealHeroes and #UNA Foundation trended on Twitter and Instagram. Later, they walked through Lagos's bustling streets to the foundation office. Shopkeepers and drivers cheered. Students sought selfies. Uche's burden lifted. In the open plan office, Amika waved them to the analytics dashboard. 500,000 views, he announced. 85% positive sentiment. I never thought our story would resonate this deeply, Uche admitted. Adaobi squeezed his shoulder. Truth resonates. That night, a major news network invited them for an interview. Beneath studio lights and on a modern set, they shared their story. A chance meeting, a shared vision, a mission rooted in empathy. Their warmth shone through. As they exited the studio, Adaobi looped her arm in Uche's. We turned a storm into a wave of support, she whispered. He gazed at the city lights on the lagoon. Together we can face anything, he said softly. Our story will inspire others to believe. The city's heartbeat matched their own, proof that truth, illuminated by courage, can transform every revelation into unity. A crisp autumn breeze swept through the Innovation Lab's open bay as Uche pored over an envelope from the International Engineering Scholars Program. His fingers trembled as he broke the seal. The letter began formally, Congratulations, Mr. Naji. It offered a full scholarship to a prestigious technical institute in Europe, covering tuition, accommodation, and mentorship with leading researchers, credentials that open doors and amplify impact. He sank onto a bench, the hum of 3D printers and welding torches fading behind him. Memories flickered. Nights under the bridge, Adaobi's unwavering faith, the community center's rising walls. He had always dreamed of global horizons, but his heart clenched at the thought of leaving Adaobi and the foundation behind. Inside his mind, questions swirled. Was ambition a betrayal? Could he belong in a lecture hall far from the rhythms of Lagos? These doubts clashed with excitement, forging a storm in his chest. Adaobi swept into the bay, laptop under her arm. She paused when she saw the envelope. Good news? She asked, eyes bright. Uche nodded, voice soft. I've been offered a scholarship abroad. Her smile faltered. That's incredible, she replied, masking concern. Over bowls of steaming gari and charred fish at a nearby roadside eatery, they weighed pros and cons. Uche described the 12-month program and subsequent 2-year mentorship phase. I'd study automation, advanced materials, everything we need to scale our purifiers, he explained. Adaobi stirred her food thoughtfully. I'm proud, she said evenly. But I'll miss you. He reached across the table, covering her hand. This foundation, and you, are my home. I'll return. A quiet anxiety settled between them like dusk. Distance felt like a chasm, progress at risk, yet knowledge invaluable. That night, Uche visited the makeshift community center under the bridge. Lanterns cast warm pools of light. Children peeked through windows to see him clutching the scholarship letter. He shared the news. Cheers echoed off concrete pillars. Joy mingled with guilt. Under moonlit arches, he pressed his palm against the cold pillar where his journey began. He remembered Adaobi's first toast, laughter during midnight lab sessions, solidarity in rebuilding lives. Fear knotted his throat, fear that change might tear them apart. The following morning, Uche stood at Adaobi's office door, letter in hand. She looked up, hope gleaming. He exhaled and said, I'm going. Silence hung. Adaobi's voice quivered, I'll miss you every day. He brushed a tear from her cheek. Learn what you can. Then come back to me. She nodded, pressing foreheads together. Together, no distance can break us. They embraced, two souls tethered by purpose and love, ready to face the unknown together. The choice they made would reshape both their futures, and their bond forever. They felt destined together. The airline staff announced final boarding. Uche's heart raced with excitement and dread. The morning he departed for Europe, Lagos dawned silver with mist over the lagoon. At the airport lounge, Uche clutched his passport, heart heavy. Adaobi pressed a plane ticket into his hand. "Remember to call," she whispered against the hiss of arriving flights. He nodded, swallowing emotion. "Every day," he promised. He hugged her tightly, feeling the weight of her worry and hope. His father and aunt waved through the glass as he stepped onto the jetway, their faces proud and anxious. Once aboard, he marveled at the clouds below. His phone buzzed, Adaobi's video call. Her corporate office loomed behind her, monitors displaying stock graphs. "Safe trip?" she asked, eyes bright. He grinned but felt pangs of guilt. "Yes, all good," he replied. Days blurred into weeks. He battled homesickness amid advanced lectures, recalling Adaobi's smile with ache. Campus life challenged him. Rigorous fluid dynamics lectures, hours mastering simulation software, language barriers and group projects. Amid late-night problem sets, he found solace in video chats with Adaobi. But as time shifted across time zones, calls stuttered and schedules clashed. In Lagos, Adaobi's responsibilities mounted: quarterly reports, board meetings, oversight of pilot programs. She missed Uche's presence in the lab, his hands mapping solutions on whiteboards. Their face-to-face creativity yielded breakthroughs. Now her screen showed pixelated reflections. One evening, Uche dialed, excited to share a prototype improvement. He held up a model, Adaobi's image flickered. "I'm here," she yawned, head resting on her hand. "Just got out of a 12-hour board session." His excitement dimmed. "I thought you'd celebrate with me." She forced a smile. "I will, tomorrow." The word felt hollow, buried under corporate duty. A week later, rumors reached Uche that Adaobi had appeared at a gala with her cousin, dancing and laughing without a mention of his achievements. Jealousy struck. He confronted her on a call, frustration edging his tone. "You're moving on without me." Adaobi's eyes widened. "I'm saving the foundation, Uche. You agreed it must continue, even with distance." His silence crackled through the line. They agreed on bi-weekly video dinners to keep their bond alive. After a fortnight of tension, Uche solved a complex flow simulation. Elation propelled him to call Adaobi. The line rang, then clicked. She appeared, exhaustion softened by pride. He described his breakthrough. She leaned forward, eyes shining. "This will revolutionize the purifier," she exclaimed. Across continents, both exhaled relief. Trust, they discovered, thrives on intentional connection. Hope and determination sustained them every single day. Each night he stared at a lamplit campus quad, picturing her smile. She stared at her office phone, recalling his steady gaze. Distance remained, but their partnership endured. Proof that even across oceans, love and purpose can flow unbroken. April's sun warmed the European campus quadrangle as Uche stepped across the stage, his mortarboard braced against a gentle breeze. He inhaled deeply, the crowd's applause swelling in his chest. Diploma in hand, he scanned the sea of smiling graduates and proud families, yet his gaze searched for one face above all. Moments later, backstage, confetti drifted like snowflakes. Uche checked his phone. No messages from Adaobi since morning. A twinge of worry flickered. He passed under the arched corridor and froze. There stood Adaobi, radiant in a tailored ivory dress, eyes shining with tears of pride. She slipped the phone from his hand, propped it against a pillar, streaming his ceremony live, and enveloped him in a fierce embrace. "I wouldn't miss this for the world," she whispered. Uche's throat tightened. "How?" Adaobi smiled, breeze carrying her laughter. "I rearranged meetings, caught the earliest flight, and bribed customs with chocolate." He laughed, relief flooding him. "You're here." They strolled toward the campus garden, dais of tulips and manicured lawns. They paused beneath a magnolia tree, petals drifting around them. Adaobi reached into her purse and produced a small engraved mini filter bearing their initials, proof that their collaboration had become an emblem of hope. Uche recounted lectures on nanoparticle filters and hydrodynamic simulations. Adaobi shared boardroom victories, the foundation's latest funding round, and the community center's unveiling ceremony. Each had grown stronger, he with knowledge, she with resilience, but their bond felt more vital than ever. As dusk approached, they headed to the Innovation Lab's rooftop terrace, a surprise orchestrated by Adaobi's team. Twinkling lights framed a long table set with crystal flutes and a silver ice bucket. At the terrace's edge, solar panels glinted in the lamplight. Uche's eyes widened. Adaobi produced a chilled bottle of champagne. "To you," she said. She popped the cork, bubbles soared. He poured 2 glasses. They clinked gently. "To knowledge and compassion," he toasted. She tipped her glass. "To partnership and purpose." They drank, the effervescence dancing on their tongues. Below, the campus skyline stretched toward purple dusk. Beyond that, Lagos's distant lights flickered in his mind. He set down his glass and took her hand. "This journey changed me. But coming back to you makes me whole." Adaobi's smile was soft. "You're home," she said. They settled into rattan chairs, feet dangling over the terrace's edge. Uche marveled at how a street mechanic and a corporate heiress had forged an unbreakable alliance, bridging worlds with ingenuity and heart. Conversation turned to future plans. A second-generation purifier, expanding the foundation internationally, and perhaps merging their work to combat water scarcity across continents. A distant student shouted congratulations from below. Uche raised an eyebrow. "We'll need more rooftop celebrations." Adaobi laughed. "As many as it takes." Under the tapestry of stars, they shared a final kiss before descending together into the well-lit lab, hearts brimming with possibility. Their reunion was not an end, but the next thrilling chapter of their shared story and endless adventure. Sunlight filtered through the steel beams of the community hub, turning dust into gold motes. The newly rebuilt center hummed with quiet energy. A gentle breeze fluttered through open windows, carrying hints of cooking fires. Children darted between workstations, practicing welding techniques on scrap metal under Emika's careful guidance. Adults tested water from the purifier's spigot, marveling at its clarity. Amid this bustle, Uche stood near the main entrance, heart thundering. He adjusted the collar of his shirt and smoothed grease stains from his palms. Today was the day he promised himself he would ask Adaobi to marry him, the woman who believed in a street kid's dreams and built a foundation of hope beside him. Behind him, the inscription over the entrance read, "UNA Community Center, where bridges build futures." He smiled, fingers grazing the letters. Adaobi arrived, her heels clicking softly on concrete, carrying a clipboard and a stack of blueprints. She looked radiant in a simple linen dress, hair pinned back so her eyes gleamed without distraction. As she approached, Uche swallowed and reached into his pocket, fingers closing around a small handmade ring holder carved from reclaimed wood. His breath caught. "Adaobi," he called, voice steady despite the tremor inside. She turned, meeting his gaze with a questioning smile. "That smile," he began, stepping closer. "I've seen it under chandeliers and boardroom lights, but here, beneath the bridge where it all started, it means more than anything." She tilted her head. He took a deep breath, pulling the ring holder from his pocket. He opened it to reveal a simple, elegant ring, a slender band of silver sourced from riverbed scrap, polished to a high sheen. "From cardboard boxes to champagne toasts, we've built bridges no one believed possible," he said, voice soft. "I can't imagine the next step without you by my side. Adaobi, will you marry me?" Tears glistened in her eyes as gasps rippled through the surrounding crowd. Friends, family, and community members paused to watch. Adaobi covered her mouth, taking a moment before nodding. "Yes," she whispered. A spontaneous cheer erupted. Uche slipped the ring onto her finger, his own hands shaking as she took his in return. Emika stepped forward, embracing Uche's shoulders. "Well done, son." Adaobi embraced him, her laughter like bells. "I can't wait," she whispered. As the crowd surrounded them, offering congratulations, Uche realized that the proposal wasn't just between two people. It was a promise to honor every struggle and triumph that brought them here. Under the dusty beams of steel and light, they kissed, sealing a vow built on steel, sweat, and unwavering faith. From this foundation of love and community would spring a new chapter. One where a street kid and a corporate heir would build a family as strong as any bridge. The hub echoed with applause and joy, and in that moment, Uche and Adaobi knew that together, they could span any distance, overcome any obstacle, and fulfill the dreams they dared to share. The morning after their graduation gala, Uche's phone buzzed with alerts. The UNA Foundation's website had crashed under sudden traffic. Adaobi sat at her desk, pale as she clicked through incoming messages. Most were supportive, but some were venomous. "She's using him for publicity, foundation doomed, what does the bridge boy contribute?" At the top, an anonymous blog post titled "Corporate Chaos: How an Heiress's Choices Threaten Shareholder Value," accused Adaobi of nepotism. Uche's chest tightened. They convened in the foundation office's glass-walled conference room. Emeka displayed printouts, smear slogans, doctored photos of Uche in a mechanic's uniform amid boardrooms. The rival executive's fingerprints were clear, the same one who doubted Uche's competence. Adaobi clenched her jaw. "They'll stop at nothing," she said softly. Uche placed a hand on her arm. "We face this together." Before that, Adaobi labored through midnight calls with legal counsel in London, drafting cease and desist notices while Uche coordinated grassroots responses. He phoned community leaders in remote villages, urging them to share testimonies and rally support. Emeka mobilized former beneficiaries to speak at media briefings, reinforcing the foundation's authenticity. Their unity impressed even the harshest critics. Their first counter was transparency. Adaobi sent an open letter to stakeholders, detailing Uche's credentials and the foundation's impact metrics. Uche filmed a candid video tour of the community hub, narrating how each workshop station empowered local youth. Clips went viral. Supporters launched #BridgeBuilder, rewriting smear slogans into praise. But the headwinds persisted. A major donor threatened to withdraw funding unless Adaobi removed Uche from leadership. In the executive suite, she faced the board chairwoman. "He's integral," Adaobi insisted. "Removing him undermines our mission." The chairwoman arched an eyebrow. "But shareholders demand stability," she replied coolly. Adaobi's eyes narrowed. "Stability built on exclusion fails communities." Uche stepped into the board meeting next morning, surprising executives. "My only agenda is impact," he said, voice resonant. He shared testimonials: a mother whose child no longer suffered diarrhea, a teacher leading coding workshops for girls. He concluded, "If you doubt my value, consider the lives changed." The chairwoman folded her arms, then nodded slowly. "Value proven. The motion fails." Outside, media headlines shifted tone. "Street hero proves his worth, foundation battles class prejudice, love and purpose triumph." Adaobi and Uche regrouped at the community center under the bridge. Emeka greeted them with mugs of tea. "You handled it well," he said. Uche shook his head. "Only because we stood together." That afternoon they addressed their team. Adaobi acknowledged the pain, Uche praised their resilience. Emeka raised a toast with mugs. "To obstacles overcome." They clinked mugs amid laughter. That night, Uche and Adaobi walked beside the river under starlight. The bridge hummed above. Uche held Adaobi's hand. "If this is what success looks like," he said, "I'll weather any storm." Adaobi smiled, pressing her head to his shoulder. "Storms reveal who we are," she whispered. As moonlight danced on the water's ripples, they felt stronger, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The smear campaign faded into a rally cry as Uche's street family organized a peaceful march from the bridge to Sterling Dynamics headquarters. Emeka and Adaobi's board allies joined at the gates bearing banners reading "Innovation for All" and "Bridge Builders United." The marchers included former night school classmates, children from the community center, and engineers turned friends, their voices echoing songs of unity. As they reached the glittering facade of skyscraping glass, security paused the procession. A tall guard blocked their path, frowning. "Protest unauthorized," he said. Uche stepped forward. "We're not here to protest. We're here to show our gratitude and defend fairness." Adaobi emerged, stepping beside him. "Our movement transcends walls," she declared. The guard hesitated, then lowered his barrier. Inside the lobby, stunned executives watched as the group unfurled photos of villages transformed by clean water and workshops. Bola spoke passionately into a borrowed microphone. "This foundation gave me purpose. Without Uche's guidance, I'd be stuck scavenging metal for spare coins." The crowd erupted in cheers. Cameras flashed from reporters and social influencers who had gathered to cover the confrontation. Among them stood Chief Okafor, observing from a VIP gallery. She stepped onto the marble floor, her presence commanding silence. She approached Adaobi and Uche, handing them a signed resolution. "Sterling Dynamics Board unanimously reaffirms full support for UNA Foundation and its leadership." Adaobi's eyes filled with tears. Uche bowed his head. "Thank you, Ma," he said. The crowd roared approval. Outside, microphones were thrust forward as journalists pressed for statements. Adaobi smiled broadly. "Today proves that solidarity overcomes prejudice. Together we'll continue our mission." Uche added, voice steady, "When communities unite across social divides, innovation flourishes." Their words were replayed across screens. Trending hashtags #BridgeBuilders, #SolidarityWins, #UNA echoed on social media. By midday, messages from across Nigeria and the diaspora poured in. Groups in Kano, Enugu, and London posted heartfelt videos praising the foundation's model. Diaspora Nigerians graciously shared fundraising links. Local artisans offered to craft replacement parts. Even neighboring communities invited UNA teams to train workshops in their towns. That evening they held a quiet celebration at the community center. Lanterns hung from steel beams, solar lamps cast a warm glow. Adaobi invited every marcher to a simple feast of jollof rice and fried fish. Laughter and conversation wove through the beams as friendships deepened beyond titles and status. Emeka rose from his seat, tapping a glass gently. To solidarity, proof that when people stand together, walls become bridges. They cheered, raising cups of palm wine and sweet hibiscus tea. Uche and Adaobi exchanged a look of contentment. Later, as stars shimmered through the open roof, Adaobi whispered to Uche, "This movement is ours, built on trust." He nodded, pulling her close. "And together we will build futures," he replied. Beneath the bridge that had once sheltered him, their unity radiated outward, inspiring countless others to believe that even in the face of adversity, solidarity could build a better tomorrow. Months after the Solidarity March, Uche and Adaobi stood on a stage beneath the newly completed Innovation Pavilion at the UNA Foundation headquarters. The pavilion's glass walls reflected the morning sun. A polished podium bore the foundation's emblem, two interlocking bridges. Dignitaries from government, NGOs, and corporate partners filled the audience. The air thrummed with anticipation. Adaobi tapped the microphone. "Welcome, friends and supporters," she began, voice confident. "Today we launched the UNA Foundation, our commitment to merge cutting-edge technology with grassroots empowerment." She gestured toward Uche. "And this is my partner in vision, Uche Naji, a mechanic, scholar, and community champion." Uche stepped forward, smiling. "Our mission is simple: safe water, sustainable energy, and skills for every community in Nigeria and beyond." Behind them, a large screen displayed rolling footage. Villagers installing portable solar units, students coding in workshops, entrepreneurs crafting water filters in sustainable microfactories. Adaobi described plans to scale operations. "We'll establish 10 regional hubs by next year, each staffed by local leaders trained in our methods." Uche added, "Our open-source design ensures communities can adapt solutions to local materials and conditions." A local minister rose to speak. "The UNA model exemplifies public-private partnership. It preserves dignity, sparks innovation, and restores hope." Applause erupted. As ministers and partners presented ceremonial plaques, Uche and Adaobi moved to unveil a model microfactory, a shining steel structure with solar panels, water tanks, and benches. A cloth fell, gasps rose. Afterward, guests toured the pavilion, inspecting prototypes and meeting community ambassadors, women like Ife who led waste-to-energy initiatives, and Emeka who expanded apprenticeship programs. Adaobi guided a group through a digital display, explaining impact dashboards. Uche showed children how to calibrate sensors on a mobile lab bus. Their seamless teamwork embodied the foundation's ethos. During lunch under white tents, delegates from neighboring countries approached. A delegation from Ghana sought to replicate the UNA blueprint, while representatives from South Africa and Kenya requested training partnerships. Uche exchanged contact cards, speaking with animated passion about cross-border workshops. Adaobi negotiated MOUs to establish joint centers in West African communities. Local newspapers reported initial fundraising surpassed 1 million naira in hours, fueling research into next-generation water treatment advanced technologies. As the sun dipped toward dusk, Adaobi and Uche retreated to a private balcony overlooking the pavilion. They sipped mint-infused water from glass flutes. "This is bigger than either of us," Uche said. "I dreamed of fixing engines, now we're fixing futures." Adaobi rested her head on his shoulder. "Together our vision spans continents," she whispered. A breeze stirred banners fluttering above the headquarters. "Innovation through inclusion." Adaobi reached for his hand. "Let's keep building," she said. Below, as lanterns lit the walk of bridges, a path lined with arches representing each completed hub, volunteers sang songs of progress. The foundation's anthem rose on the night air, carrying dreams across fields and cities. Under African stars, Uche and Adaobi understood that their united vision would ripple outward through generations, a testament to what love, courage, and collaboration can achieve. The Grand Gala Hall of Lagos Continental Conference Center glittered under crystal chandeliers as luminaries gathered to celebrate the unveiling of the UNA Foundation's flagship global initiative. The red carpet stretched beneath towering columns draped in blue and gold fabric, and photographers' flashes softly and brightly punctuated the air. Adaobi and Uche arrived arm in arm, their footsteps echoing against polished marble floors. She wore an elegant deep green gown. He sported a tailored midnight blue suit that fit him like a second skin. Their smiles were bright and genuine, a testament to the journey that brought them here. Inside, tables circled a central platform where a sculptural installation symbolized two bridges converging above a water fountain. Visitors watched as Adaobi stepped forward to the microphone. "Welcome to the first annual UNA Gala," she announced, her voice warm and resonant. "Tonight, we celebrate the power of collaboration and community." She nodded toward Uche, who rose with quiet confidence. He addressed the crowd. "We stand here as proof that love, courage, and shared vision can transform lives. From cardboard shelters to global impact, this foundation belongs to all of you." The orchestra began a gentle waltz as servers carried trays of crystal flutes sparkling with champagne. Adaobi raised her glass. "To every supporter who believed," she toasted. Uche followed, "To every skeptic whose doubt fueled our resolve." Glasses chimed softly in a symphony of hope. A highlight video played across a towering screen. The moment they met beside a broken Mercedes, late-night lab sessions under fluorescent lights, the Solidarity March at Sterling Dynamics, and the inauguration of community hubs across Lagos. Clips of children drinking clear water and artisans welding solar panels drew tears and applause. As the final frame revealed the rebuilt center illuminated at dusk, the room erupted in a standing ovation. When the lights brightened, Miko Johnson, the gala host, invited them to unveil the fountain sculpture. With ceremonial scissors adorned in gold ribbon, Uche snipped the ribbon, releasing a cascade of shimmering confetti. Water danced in illuminated jets, shifting through hues of amber and sapphire. Gasps and cheers swelled. At the gala's edge, dignitaries and philanthropists mingled. A United Nations envoy approached Uche. "Your model will inspire communities worldwide," she said. He nodded humbly. Nearby, Adaobi engaged a tech executive in conversation about joint research initiatives. Their dialogue echoed the evening's theme: innovation through unity. As the clock neared midnight, the orchestra transitioned into an Afrobeat rhythm. Guests rose to dance. Adaobi and Uche shared the first dance, their laughter mingling with music under cascading lights. At a crystal bench by the fountain, Emeka raised his glass. "To champagne toasts," he declared, "and to the bridges we build together." Together, Uche and Adaobi lifted their glasses, eyes alight with promise. They toasted to the future, one where every bridge they construct connects hearts, communities, and dreams. Outside, the Lagos skyline glittered in solidarity. Under the radiant chandeliers, two worlds stood united, proof that from humble beginnings, anything is possible. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.